Hello and welcome along to the latest episode of the RacingNews365.com Formula One podcast. My name is Michael Butterworth and I'm joined as usual by Dieter Rencken, Editorial Director of Racing News 365. And Dieter and I are very pleased to be joined for today's podcast by Guenther Steiner, Team Principal of the Haas F1 team. Guenther, a very warm welcome to the show. We know you're a very busy man and we very much appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today.
Hello to everybody and glad to be here.
Well, let's start by talking about Haas and the company structure, because it's a team that's put together a little differently from some of the others on the grid. Tell us how everything works together at Haas.
Yeah, sure. How we started the team in 2014, we actually started the team and then we competed in 2016 the first time. But what we have got, I start from the beginning. We have got our design team and aero team based in Italy, exactly in Maranello. We've got about 100 people there. And then we have also some people from Dallara. Dallara is a manufacturer of race cars. I think commercial race car, the biggest one now in the world. And we got about 30 people working there on our behalf, which in the high season, we ramp up between 50 and 60. High season meaning November, December, January, when the new car is designed and developed. We are using the wind tunnel from Ferrari Maranello, so all that is done there. Then you have got the administration in the United States, where our license is American, and our finance department, the HR department, and myself are based in Charlotte, North Carolina. We have got also a big machine shop there, obviously with Haas machines, with a lot of Haas machines, and they are doing manufacture of all the metal parts, or almost all the metal parts we need for the cars. Obviously, it needs to be shipped to Europe so we can assemble a car. And then we have got the race team, which is the people which travel to the races, and the maintenance team based in the UK, in Banbury. And I would say there is about another 80 people there full-time, which work out from there. So all our equipment and stuff which goes to the racetrack is based in the UK. So it's very different to other teams, which have got normally everything under one roof. But this is how we are structured, and this in the moment is the best way how we can conduct business.
Obviously, Guenther, it's a world championship, and you've really taken the word world to an extreme. But you're also drawing a lot of parts, obviously legally, from Ferrari. Could you give us an idea of what you draw from Ferrari in terms of hardware, please?
Yeah, and you mentioned rightly, we do everything legally, Dieter. So what we buy is mainly all the mechanical parts you can buy by the FIA regulations from another manufacturer, which is the suspension, the hydraulics, the transmission, obviously the engine, but that everybody is doing, or not all the smaller teams are taking them from a bigger one. Electronics, electrics, we buy all that from Ferrari. And then what we do as a team, we develop the rest of it, which all the aerodynamic parts you have to develop yourself as a manufacturer in F1. And we do that all ourselves.
So if we were to describe it as the wetted parts, in other words, what one can see outside is all your own stuff. And then what's under the skin, a lot of that is what the FIA calls an unlisted part, and therefore you're able to source that. So the engine, the gearbox, hydraulics, etc. Brakes obviously come from somebody like Brembo. So you do all the external work, which obviously is also which is performance related, because that's aerodynamic stuff.
Correct, and also what is part of the aerodynamic parts is the cooling system, which is very complex in this cars with the hybrid technology. You're cooling a lot of systems there. So that also we need to develop ourselves, like radiators, all the coolers, all the oil coolers, all that stuff is developed as well by us.
With reference to what you were talking about first, Guenther, with the way that your team is structured, you've got people in Maranello, you've got people in Banbury, you've got people in North Carolina, and you're working with Dallara as well. Do you ever find any issues with communication or logistics that make it more difficult than if you did have it all under one roof, like Ferrari, for example?
Yeah, obviously it is sometimes you think you should have everything under one roof, but our business model again, would be more difficult to have it under one roof, how we do it. So we find sometimes some difficulties, like, as you say, logistically. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult, especially when you build a new car in the beginning of the season. But we are working on it to streamline it. Then one thing just to explain is when the pandemic came along in 2020, everybody was like, oh, we need to do now this video conferences and all that stuff. For us, it was like, okay, but that's nothing new to us because we did that from the beginning. That is how we communicated between the different bases, in the UK, the States, and Italy. We just had video conferences. So for us, it was like, okay, but what's the problem with the video conference? We are doing this now since 6 years. So on one side, what the normal factory experienced in 2020, we knew already how it works very well.
Yeah, if I could just come in there, please, Michael. I remember visiting the US base in 2015. Guenther kindly invited me across there. And I remember walking into one of the rooms, which was a big sort of movie type studio with a massive screen and chairs literally like you've staggered in rows as you have in a movie house. And I said, what's this? And, I sort of sarcastically thought maybe on Friday afternoons I'll go and rent a video or something. And he said, well, this is how we're going to communicate. And I remember being incredibly impressed. And I think that sort of foresight certainly paid off under COVID.
Well, let's talk about 2022 now, Guenther, because Haas had a few pretty lean years. 2021 obviously didn't score any points at all. But then the first race of 2022, you got your best result in about 3.5 years, since Austria 2018, I believe. How do you evaluate this year so far for Haas?
Highs and lows, Michael. It is like I start with the good things. I mean, as you said, we had very lean years, and we cannot get leaner than 0 points in 21. So we were very down, and a lot of people doubted that we will ever come back. F1 is used to have a backmarker team, but I always said last year, we are not here just to participate. And then coming back in 22 with the result we had in Bahrain was very good for the team, mainly because a lot of people last year had difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But then I always told them, guys, 80% of you are the people which finished 5th in the championship in 2018. So don't give up, just keep going. We know why we are where we are in 21, and we know where we want to go in 22. And fortunately, or because of the hard work of the design and aero department, we got a good car out there for this year, and we bounced back. Obviously, the next question of you will be, Michael, yeah, you bounce back, but then you fall down again, and it's an up and down. I think what we need to work now on it is to get to stabilize our performance. We had the first 2 good, then we had 5 or 6 races not so good, then we had again good races. Now we had again a few bad races. So we need to find a happy medium there.
Guenther, how much of these sort of ups and downs, the sort of swings and roundabouts, are due to the new regulations, which makes it very difficult to understand the cars for all circuits under all weather conditions, etc., plus, of course, the new tires?
Absolutely, it has to do something with it, Dieter, but there is other people out there which deal a lot better than us with it. So we need to put ourselves in that position that we are prepared for all the things you said. I mean, making the tires work is the most difficult one. If we get the tires in the window, we run pretty good. If we're outside of the window, it's not so good. But it's learning, and we just need to keep on working hard that we get. When we get to the racetrack on a Friday, that we are there where we want to be, because as you maybe could see in FP1s and FP2s, quite a few times we struggled a little bit. We were at the back, and then we rebound on Saturday, but we lost already a day of where we look for performance. We just put ourselves in the mix for Saturday morning. So we have to work on that, and I think that is our biggest area we need to work on it, because I still think the car is pretty good in general, what we developed for this year.
Talking about developing the car, Guenther, it was only very recently that you actually had your first big update on the 2022 car. Before that, you'd hardly had anything at all on it in the first half of the season. What have you got planned to keep developing on it for the rest of the year?
For the rest of the year, Michael, will be very little we develop, because we focus already on the 23 car since a few months. We still do some little work on the 22 car, but again, we're looking always a little bit forward, because obviously, what you learn for this year, you carry on in next year because the regulations don't change. It was not like from 21 to 22, but we have got our sight on 23 in the moment. So we developed this upgrade and then we produced it, and maybe we come with a few small parts, but nothing big for this year anymore.
Guenther, if we look at a sort of mid-year or mid-season report on the drivers, how do you rate Mick and Kevin?
I mean, Kevin came back, and I think he's doing what we expected him to do. Obviously, it's never good enough. As you know, Dieter, you always need to do better. That's my opinion about it. But he's solid. He's doing a good job, and he brought us back in that area, in that place that we feel confident now that we can move forward. With Mick, he had some ups and downs the year. You know, the two big accidents, obviously, you know, they were a big damage and also a big risk because luckily the cars are very safe, but we need to avoid them in the future. And then the two races in Silverstone and Spielberg in Austria was very good, in my opinion. But it's a little bit up and down, but in the end we have to see how he does the rest of the season. You know, normally he's going where the team is. If Kevin is back, he's back, you know. If Kevin is going very strong, he can follow. So we need to wait a little bit before make a judgment.
Yeah, talking about next year, Guenther, we understand that Kevin is under contract. What's Mick's situation? Because is his seat at Haas dependent on a decision by Ferrari, whether or not they want to keep him in their program?
No, it's not dependent solely on Ferrari. It's a joint decision we take with Ferrari. You know, there is nothing unilateral. We always decided the driver after European races in the past, and we will do this year. Obviously, we start to talk about what is best for us to do, but we want also to see how Mick is doing in the next few races.
Is the fact that Fernando Alonso has now been confirmed by Aston Martin, does that give you greater clarity? Because there was obviously talk that Mick could be heading to Aston Martin. So does this give you a further option for next year?
I don't really know what Mick is planning. As I said, we have not spoken about the drive for next year with Mick. He hasn't spoken to us, and we haven't spoken to him. We want to see what is happening. So, you know, this Aston Martin thing, it happened all very quickly, so nobody had even time to think about it. As you said, it was rumored that he could replace Vettel, but that rumor went away pretty quick when Fernando signed. I don't know, it was yesterday or 2 days ago. So it never really came into mind. You know, I didn't look at, or we didn't look at the other people, what they were doing.
We'll talk about the wider driver market shortly, if you don't mind. But getting back to Mick, as you said, he's had a few fairly hefty accidents, and obviously every accident comes with repair costs. The word in the paddock is that your repair costs have been higher than anybody else. What does this do for your development rate, etc., under the budget cap, Guenther?
I think with that statement, you're right. I think if you combine a few teams, they didn't have as much damage as we had. I mean, it's never good. But you know, when you're running a business, you have got the situations where you get into, which you have to sort out. And we fortunately have got a bunch of good people that we still could do the development, because I think other teams would have said, oh, we don't do an upgrade because of that, and blame somebody for it. We didn't want to do that, you know. We wanted to find solutions that we still get the developments on the car, which we planned before the second accident happened. The easiest thing for me would have been, I'll stop that and just say, we cannot do it because we had too much damage. No, there's a lot of people working there trying to find solutions with me, and we found them, and we just keep on going as we planned. Obviously, we need to find measures where we save the money, and we do. So we manage parts better, and we just work harder. That is how we overcome the situations.
Obviously, Mick had a bit of a difficult start to the year with the two crashes that we just spoke about. And after Monaco, you were publicly quite critical of him having crashed, and, you know, the repair bills that keep mounting up. After that, he seemed to improve a lot. He obviously got his first points on the board, finished 6th in Austria, had that battle with Hamilton. Did you notice a change in Mick after sort of Monaco with the races immediately onwards? Because looking at it from the outside, it almost looked like he was a completely different driver.
I hope you don't jinx it, Michael, because fingers crossed that he has not got more damage going forward. No, but you're right. After Monaco, it was like, I don't know if he took less risk. I could see some change in Canada where he seemed to be being more confident and more relaxed about things, not always trying to do, more than it was possible. Maybe, it's difficult to see in drivers, they put poker faces on, but I just could see in Canada, he was pretty, I wouldn't say relaxed is maybe the wrong word, but he felt a lot easier. And then the results came in Silverstone and Austria, which was good. So hopefully we can keep it like this, because one thing, we want that Mick succeeds, because if Mick succeeds, we succeed, because he's part of the team. We always forget, we speak about the driver, but the team wants them to succeed. And, my reactions after Monte Carlo, obviously they were quite direct, but I think that was the best way to do it, instead of saying, yeah, it's all good, there's not a problem. No, I mean, everybody was quite pissed at what happened, because, as I said before, it's not only the damage, it's also the risk. You cannot take risks which are not worth to take, not for yourself and not for the budget and not for the car.
Guenther, looking towards the rest of the season, how do you see that unfolding, particularly for Haas F1 team?
Difficult to predict. This year, each race, the midfield, somebody is in front of it and somebody is at the back of it. And it goes, as I said, from race to race different. And hopefully we can get some more points, defend 7th place, and maybe even if we have got a good run, trying to go for 6th. Very difficult. But if you don't have, if you don't aim at something, you will never achieve it. I say, you cannot just luck into something like this position. So for sure, first thing is defending 7th, and second is attacking 6th.
Well, Guenther, there were rumours in recent years, when Haas was going through a bit of a difficult time, that Gene Haas might pull out of the sport or might sell the team. But with the budget cap now in place and with Haas doing a bit better, is Gene committed to F1 for the foreseeable future?
Absolutely. As you say, there was a lot of rumors from a lot of people that Haas is for sale, Haas is bankrupt. There was never an issue of being bankrupt. It's just like in 2020, Gene wanted to see what the new regulations bring, mainly the financial regulation with the budget cap and the new money distribution. And once that was sorted, he was committed, and he's committed to the team, So in the moment, also a lot of people want to buy into an F1 team, so there wouldn't be a lack of interest to take it over. But Gene has no interest in the moment. He wants to stick with the team.
That's actually an ideal stepping point for the next thing, which is the wider Formula One environment. Where do you stand on the potentially late change on the underbodies, for example, with the TD39 and the aftermath thereof to prevent porpoising and bouncing?
I mean, I have no more information where we are at in the moment, but my stand is to change the regulation as dramatically as it was suggested in that TD. It's very late in the year. Now, from next week on, we have got two weeks of shutdown. Then if you restart in September to develop this stuff, I don't think it's fair because we have done a lot of work already, and you would throw that one out already. If we need to find a compromise somewhere, which was suggested, obviously the compromise, I'm okay with it, because life is about compromises if you've got a lot of people involved. But the dramatic change, I do not think is needed anymore, because the purposing, I wouldn't say has gone away, but I don't think it's anything dangerous for the drivers. And even Mercedes stated that they have no purposing anymore. We are going to gather some data from Spa onwards and see what it says, what the data is. But I don't think it's no need to make such a drastic change to the rules anyway.
Are you concerned about the regulatory process? I mean, let's just have a look at Kevin, 2 orange and black flags in this year, whereas I don't think Haas or any other team has had any orange and black flags in the last 5 years. The jewelry situation, all these sort of things. Are you concerned about the triviality of some of these matters?
Yeah, I am, because especially as you mentioned, the black and orange, I mean, we had one, I don't know where it was, and it was not needed there. And this time in Hungary was absolutely no need for it. And after the first time, it was agreed between the team managers and race control that race control would call up the team and ask what they are thinking about the damage on the car, because the team knows the car better than race control will ever know them, how it is constructed. And that didn't happen, which was very disappointing. And you don't have a chance to even complain about it, because Black and Orange tells you need to come in next time by the pit lane, So you haven't got even a chance to react. And it was complete denied that was ever agreed with, and which obviously I will bring it up after the summer break, that this is not correct. And when we inspected the broken part of it, there was no need at all for it. There was no danger that this part would fall off or could injure anybody. And I think it destroyed our race again. And after a while, that gets old, I think it was a wrong call. Obviously, we need to go to the motions why it was done. It will never fix that it was done and destroyed Kevin's race in Hungary.
And obviously, with that potential points and with that potentially money.
Absolutely. It's always, that's what it is about, because we were in a good position. We got ourselves into, I think it was 12th place, and we had chances to go forward. But if you need to come in at the wrong time to change the nose, they don't need a change of the nose. I don't think it's correct.
So for the benefit of our listeners, we're talking to Guenther roughly 24 hours after Alpine announced that they had, that Oscar Piastri would be driving for them in 2023. And then a couple of hours later, Piastri himself released a statement saying that wouldn't be the case. And of course, all this is coming after Fernando Alonso announced that he would be leaving Alpine to go to Aston Martin for 2023. Now, Guenther, Formula One is often full of surprises, but I wonder how you saw this whole situation. Are you surprised by the way that this is all playing out?
Yeah, I'm more surprised. It was an open secret that Fernando was talking to Aston Martin when Vettel left, and I was not really surprised about that one, but the Piastri situation came a little bit of a surprise, because it was a little bit of a déjà vu of what is happening in the States with Chip Ganassi in IndyCar, with Palou. It seems like he took that lesson and tried to do the same. I don't know. We all speculate where he wants to go, obviously, because there's not a lot of seats free, but I don't want to get involved in that speculation and things. But yeah, I was a little bit surprised, because Piastri was seen as an Alpine driver, in my opinion. They brought him up, they brought him to this level and helped him. So I thought for sure he will end up driving in F1 after Fernando left. But I think there is more behind it, but I don't have any details of it.
Guenther, let's call it the Piastri situation, if you don't mind. If we look at this Piastri situation, do you think that the FIA Contract Recognition Board is up to actually resolving this speedily and in a hurry if it gets to that stage?
I don't know exactly what contract Piastri has got with Alpine, so it's difficult to say what the CRB is going to do about it.
And of course, Guenther, Haas are no stranger to contractual issues with drivers over the last 12 months or so. Just wondering, what's the latest on the Mazepin legal situation? How do you expect that situation to resolve itself?
I don't know, and I don't like to speak about that, Michael, because it's with our legal team. So everything what is said, will be used. So in the moment, we are working on it, and we will resolve it.
Okay, well, I think that about wraps it up. We've got to the end of our 30 minutes. Guenther, thank you very, very much indeed for your input, your insight, your availability. It's really been very illuminating. And we thank you, and we wish you a very, very good summer break. Do you actually take a break, or is your mind still on what's going on and this little trick to do that or whatever, or do you literally switch off totally?
No. You always think. It gives you time to think, when nobody is calling in, or you don't have to deal with the daily grind. It gives you opportunity to think and to build up what you're going to do when we go back to work, to digest some of the things, to think them a little bit through what you want to do in the future and things like this, with the team. It gives you time to think, because what the biggest problem is at a job in F1, you're always so much under pressure. So you never can really lean back and think things through properly. It gives you time to speak with people and all these good things without the pressure that you have to go to the next meeting.
In closing, although we're sort of 60% of the way through the season, we've got about 40% of races left. We don't have any standalones left. Could it be that the rest of this year will be even more arduous than the first part?
Absolutely. I mean, it will be, but it will go so quick that we don't even realize it, how hard it was. I mean, it's one of these, say, if you have just back-to-backs, it's just like a grind, but it goes so quick when you go from race to race that all of a sudden we will be sitting here with you at Christmas and saying, wow, do you remember when we talked about it? It seemed to be yesterday because time flew by.
Do you remember when I called you at Christmas 2013, I think it was?
Yeah, I remember that when I was driving my truck up to Indianapolis, huh?
Yeah, and I said, you're starting a new team. And you said, oh, Dieter, I'm going to have an accident. Don't talk to me. I'll call you back.
It was snowing, yeah. It was snowing over the West Virginia mountains, Yeah.
And then this journalist calls you up and says, I believe you're starting a team with Gene Haas.
Exactly, yeah.
Great memory. Thanks, Guenther.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Guenther. That was fascinating. Very best of luck for the rest of the year.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Michael. Thank you.
And you.
Bye, guys.
And here at Racing News 365, we'll have a podcast for you every week until the Belgian Grand Prix on August the 28th, with a variety of special guests and special features for your listening pleasure throughout F1's summer break. That's it for this edition of the RacingNews365.com podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back very soon indeed.